Jim, thank you so much for the time. How you doing today?
I'm good, Trey. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, congratulations on this book. It was such a wonderful read. Not only getting some history and background and hearing from your fellow castmates with Parks and Rec, but it was also part memoir as well. And I'm always drawn to people's personal stories and how they got to the place that they are currently. It was fascinating to learn that you were not initially trying out for Jerry when you tried to read for this show. You started out trying to read for Ron Swanson, which of course ended up going to the only guy fit for that part when it was
The
all
only guy fit for that role. Absolutely.
with
Yeah. Nick
Offerman.
Offerman.
But what did your Ron Swanson look like in that tryout, Jim?
I have asked them, is there a video of it anywhere? Because, you see online people's audition videos. And I've actually seen some audition videos for like The Office. And I love watching that. As an
Yeah.
actor, I love watching people's audition videos. No one seems to have it. Um, but I do remember, again, I can't even think that I came near anything what Nick has done because and I actually go in a little rant in the book about the fact that Nick Offerman was never even nominated for an Emmy or a SAG award, like any of the big awards, blows my mind. And believe me, I loved all of us. I wanted all of us to get all the awards because I love everybody. But what Nick was doing was not on television. It was such a different character. So anyway, but luckily he last year got an Emmy for I think it's The Last of Us, I believe
Last
is
of
the
Us,
name of
yeah.
The Last of Us, and so well deserved. So he got an Emmy, but it has always pissed me off that he didn't get one for Ron Swanson. But no, so I just did it. I probably played it just more stern because I remember getting the material, and as an actor you make your choices and you're going to go this way that way, and I think I probably was too stern throughout. Because what's lovable about the way Nick pulls off Ron Swanson is that yes, he can be curmudgeonly and everything, but he's also, you know, he truly loves his coworkers, even though he might deny that to his dying breath. He absolutely does. But I think the reason I went further and they saw me past that was because we connected in the room, Mike and Greg and I, because the last job I had done in Chicago uh, before I moved to LA was a voice job. I believe it was either Miller Beer or Budweiser. I forget what it was, but it was with Steve Carell. So I had that, we could do a little chitter chatter. It's nice to be able to talk to people when you walk into a room. And so we had a lot of conversation that was just us BSing. And I think, as I heard later, as they told me in this book, they thought I was funny, and that was good to know. And then I even found out, like, the casting director, because actors, there's not a more insecure group of people that walk this planet. We are the worst. I'm the guy who, like, here's a perfect example. I recently shot a film in Barcelona, and when I came back, I had another job a week later that I had to get back for. But I'm the guy. The minute the job was over in Barcelona, I'm like, oh my God, I'll probably never work again. Well, I already had another job lined up, but it's just we're the worst. We're absolutely the worst. So, but I find out, Allison Jones, who was the casting director who presented all of us to these guys, she called them and said, "You got to see Jim O'Heir." And she did the same with Aubrey Plaza. And that, like, warmed my heart because I'm always thinking I'm just out here hoping to make a dent. Every audition you meet someone who can keeps you in mind. And that's another thing that I always tell new actors. Like when I auditioned for Parks, I never, ever thought I would be a series regular on that show. My goal was to do a good job because Greg Daniels and Mike Schur were also doing The Office. And I thought, I just want to get on The Office. I want them to like me enough to, like, think, oh, we could, maybe give him a guest spot on The Office. So it's such a crazy thing. But yeah, but to get back to your main question, mine would have been very different. I wish I could see Nick's audition next to mine just to see, and then when they did call me back for the role of Jerry, Jerry didn't really exist. It was not a character in the pilot, or there wasn't a pilot. They had a 6 episode order, but he wasn't in it. So, but they knew they had to fill out the office, and so they created Jerry and Donna, these two characters, and Donna played by Retta. And when my agents called, because when I auditioned, I normally, if I go into an audition room, it's going to be guys that look like me. I know everybody. All the fat guys know each other. All the good, handsome looking guys know each other because we're all at the same, we have our types and we're with our type. But when I walked in for the Jerry audition, Trey, it was black, white, Asian, tall, skinny, fat. So I knew they didn't have a clue what they were looking for. So then you hope you're the one who can bring them what they're looking for. And from whatever miracle happened, apparently I did. And then when I got the call that I was offered the show, my agents, and they did this, they weren't trying to be idiots. They were being really smart. They said to me, "We don't know if you should take this because this feels very like a background character." And there's nothing wrong with doing background work. When I started, I did that. But at this point in my career, I was only doing guest star and stuff like that. But to me, Trey, it was such a no-brainer because I was such a fan of The Office and I saw what happened to the characters like Kevin and Angela and Oscar and Phyllis and Stanley and Meredith. I'm like, oh, I'm in. And if it turns out that I am background and we'll know quick enough, and then maybe I'll get the hell out of there. But for me, it was a no-brainer. But yeah, so yeah, that's how I ended up to be Jerry and not Ron Swanson for the betterment of the world, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think that both parts are hugely important. It is funny that Ron or that Nick never won an Emmy for that. I feel like a lot of people just assumed that's who he was, not realizing the lengths that he went to match that character. And it is truly one of the all-time brilliant sitcom characters.
One of the greatest characters in a sitcom that was never recognized with awards. And I know awards, they are what they are, but it's nice to be recognized, and he should have been.
Of course, you got a Daytime Emmy Award for
I do, damn it.
best spot you had on The Bold and the Beautiful. I'm sure that felt great. It wasn't a career highlight for you necessarily, that role, but the fact that you were honored for it, at the end of the day, it probably didn't matter one way or the other, but it still feels good for your peers to recognize you as such.
I love it. I'll never forget the first time I did a show after I got the Emmy, a talk show. I remember I was, you're in the wings and they're about to, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Emmy Award winning actor Jim O'Hare. And I was like, oh, damn, that's right. And because now whenever you do those type of shows, that is how they introduce you. And of course, then I'll have some people go, well, Jim, it was a daytime Emmy. I go, I know, but it's still an Emmy and it looks just like the other Emmys. So I'll take it. And if that's how they have to introduce me, damn it, that's how they have to introduce me. I love it.
100%. Jim, there are two types of men who are middle-aged or older in this world, those who have shit themselves and those who have lied about having shit themselves. How did you end up shitting yourselves while filming an episode of Parks and Rec?
Jim O'Hare proudly, embarrassed, but proudly tells you he has shit himself. Here's the story that I tell in the book that happened. Chris Pratt and I, we had done a table read. It was for some reason we were on location somewhere and we went to this table read for the next week's episode. Anyway, we're done and Pratt and I are like, let's go get something to eat. So we go to Laurel Tavern, one of my favorite places. It's in Studio City, good burgers and fries and good beer. Anyway, that's off the topic, but we go. So we have this great dinner, blah, blah, blah. It's all good. I go home. I had I think a 7:30 a.m. call the next day. I go home at around 4 or 5 in the morning. I wake up and things are bad. Trey, things are bad. And by bad, I mean things are happening to my body that are not good. They just aren't good. And I don't know what to do because I know in a couple hours I have to leave to go to set. And, the other thing about being an actor on a TV show or a film or whatever, you can't just call off. If you're in an 8 to 5, I've had 8 to 5 jobs and you call in and go, I'm sick today. I can't be there. This, you really can't do that. And we were doing a location shoot, which means trailers have been set there and the script is in place and the characters, you gotta be there. So I finally get there and they were taking such good care of me. I let them know what was going on. I said, I'm just so sick. And everybody was so kind. And they even gave me we were shooting at a home and they even gave me my own little bathroom area because and then I don't even know if I mentioned this in the book. At one point, I even vomited in a neighbor's bush because it was just everything was awful. And Pratt was feeling great because I called him before I went to work and said, "How are you feeling?" He goes, "I'm good." What? Anyway, so we're shooting a scene. Here's where it happens, and I thought I was better. I thought that it was near the end of the day, so I'd had a lot of the day to be doing my business, take care of business. But we're shooting a scene where Aziz is moving Tom Haverford is moving from his house that he lived in with his fake wife, and we're moving things into a truck. And so in the scene, we're lifting boxes and carrying them, and one take after another. And there is a take, and it's the one that ended up in the episode. So anybody who watches that episode, I have to lift a box. And when I lifted that box, Trey, let's just say nature had more power than I did. And Jim O'Heir shit himself on national television. Yes. Now you would know it unless I revealed it. And someone said to me, "Why do you reveal it?" And I said, "You know why? Because that is life." And I want to find anyone who tells me, and truly, truly, in their heart of hearts, has never had an accident. We'll nicely say.
Have you gone back and rewatched that scene? And it's
Yes, I
like a
know exactly.
twinkle of the eyebrow or something that happens with
It's
the
when I'm
bone.
lifting. It's when I'm lifting it onto the truck. It's like you can. I. Of course, I know myself, and I'm like, oh, it's right there. It's that moment. Damn it, it is that moment. And then, of course, the embarrassment because now Susie Flower was our first AD, our first assistant director. So they're the ones who really run the show during an episode. And I just had to go up and go, Susie, because now we have to break. Because now I'm soiled. Like there's no, and let's face it, I don't want to get too graphic. This is disgusting, but we're not talking. How do I say this, Trey, without being? We're not talking log style
Yeah,
problems. We're talking diarrhea. Like I mean,
extra moist.
extra moist because of if it was food poisoning, whatever the hell it was. And so I go, Susie, I'm so sorry, but I have to go to my trailer and then someone has to get me new clothes. Like it was a whole effing thing. And I felt like an ass, but you know what? We're human. And what is more human than going to the bathroom? We do it every day,
Yeah.
not in front of millions of people generally, but we do it. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Trey. Really appreciate it.
Well, you know what? I've had to talk about my own incidents in the past, so I've got to put other people on the spot when they are willing to admit in a
I'm willing to admit it. Yeah. What the hell?
yeah.
What
Well, it's
the
about to
hell?
be a best-selling book too, so
Well,
everybody's gonna know your secret here in the next couple of months,
yeah,
Jim.
there's a couple secrets in there that yeah, and there's one in there about because I also, as you mentioned, it's also a memoir. There's some stories about my personal life and
Uh,
things that have happened, and there's a story about my family when my father was dying that I felt I had to. I sent it to my siblings first, and I said, "Listen, I feel like this is a funny story because we've laughed about it over the years, but it's also a very personal story. And are you guys okay?" And there was I boy, I'm going to say a slight hesitation. And then we all just started laughing, like, who cares? It's funny. And so it's a story about my dad was dying, and, it was all very sad, as all that situation is. And it got revealed during a very, very sad moment that my mother accidentally revealed that my father had had a vasectomy. And, we were raised Irish Catholic. And it's like, what? And then she paused, and then she looked at us and she said, "Well, every time you looked at me, I got pregnant." And we're like, okay, number one, that ain't how that happens. Number one. And number two, what are you talking about? Our Catholic father who made us go to church every Sunday and follow the rules. And then she said later, any man who would do that for his wife is just the sweetest man in the whole world. Anyway, it was very funny. But I wouldn't have told it if I had gotten them, if they had ever said, no, that's, because it's when people write their memoirs or whatever they write, it's their view and their story, and that's great. But I love my family. I would never want to hurt anybody. And if they felt it was, like even with this book, Trey, and this is going to sound a bit childish, but it is what it is. When the book came to be and deals were made, I wouldn't sign the papers until I got the okay from Amy Poehler, Mike Schur, and Greg Daniels. I didn't have to do that. I'm an adult. I can write whatever book I want to write. I just felt I needed it. I felt I wanted them to know I was doing this. I wanted them to know that there was no ill intent because there have been books. Like I got a call once about The Office. Somebody was writing like a dirt book about The Office. And I go, first of all, why are you calling me? I know those people, but I wasn't on set with them. So anyway, I wanted them to know that this book is a love letter. This isn't anything. So anyway, and they so quickly, Greg Daniels, it was like, Jim, you're the perfect person to do this. You were there every day, blah, 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 blah. And then Amy and Mike were just like, yes, right, do this, do this. And then they all contributed to the book. So, but I don't know. I'm also I'm a bit of a pleaser, as they say, a people pleaser. And I just felt I wanted their okay. And so I was happy to get it.
Well, once you get their blessing, you know that you're going to get everybody else's blessing too.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. And that's what totally happened. I mean, everybody, the other great thing, there's one of my favorite parts of the book are the blurbs that the cast wrote for. Everybody wrote blurbs. And I mean, they're all out there, but there's so many funny ones, but one of the funniest was Rob Lowe. Because Rob came in with us at the end of season 2, he left at the end of season 5. So his blurb, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but it was basically, I met Jim O'Heir at the wrap party of season 5. No, he said the first time I spoke to Jim O'Heir was at the wrap party of season 5. He seemed like a nice guy. I was a fan. And he goes, I can't wait to have my assistant read this book and tell me about it. I mean, that is hysterical. I said, Rob, you've done it. You've absolutely done it. And then they all did stuff like that. Nick Offerman, and he has written 3 books of his own.
Yeah.
He's so smart. Sometimes I don't even know what he's saying. Like his words are above and beyond my comprehension. And he gave me so many options. I don't know. I ramble about these people because they're just so lovely. And now I'm doing a new show with Aubrey Plaza. It's an animated show called Kevin. So we've all stayed. This connection has never left all of us. And we have a thing called the Parks Family Text. We're still in each other's lives all the time. So I don't know. I get excited. Someone said to me recently, is it getting tiring because all these questions about the book? Hell no. That was 7 years of a gift. And I get worked up when I start talking about it. I love it.
Well, I feel like your status as a veteran of the industry makes that process a little bit easier because sometimes you'll talk to younger actors who become known for something, and there's almost a resentment that they were so good in a role, they were part of something so special that it follows them around. But clearly you're at peace with that. That's great. And by the way, you did know Rob Lowe before the rap party at the end of season 5. How do I know that? Because, well, Rob Lowe taught you about kissing during the making of season 5. What did he teach you about kissing, Jim?
Rob Lowe has kissed everybody. Let's face it, his career has been very different from mine. I am the character actor, so I'm the neighbor, I'm the uncle, I'm the priest, I'm the lawyer, doctor, whatever the hell I am. There's generally no kissing involved. And Rob is the leading man always. And so we were on set one day, just BSing between scenes, and we got into the topic. I probably asked him, who have you made out with? Because I'm sorry, but we're human, and that's kind of cool to find out. And so then I started saying, well, how do you know what you can do? And he went right through the process of exactly how you kiss on screen. And so I did. I mean, really, when you first come in, and really, the bottom line, it's all up to her. It's whatever she's going to set the tone. He's not going to make any moves that she doesn't initiate. And so he said, first you go in, your mouth is closed, and then maybe if she opens her mouth a little, you can open your mouth a little, and then she might stick a little tongue in there. You could reciprocate, and then of course, if tongues are flying, all bets are off. So he tells me this, and I'm telling you, that stuck with me. So right after Parks, I did a movie called Middleman, this really, really dark comedy that if it streams, it's called Middleman, and I'm so proud of it. But I had my first love scene. So I am laying on top of this incredibly talented actress, Annie Dudek. That poor girl laid under me for 3 hours. And the whole time, all I'm thinking about is what Rob Lowe has told me. Trey, I'm not joking. I'm like, okay, go. Okay. Her mouth opened a little bit. Okay. I've always heard these scenes aren't sexy at all because there's crew and there's cameras, and
yeah.
I've always heard they're not sexy. But part of me was like, well, they must be a little sexy. You're making out. Like, that's kind of, there was nothing sexy about this. And all I kept thinking about was Rob Lowe while I'm laying on top of Annie Dudek. So not good. Not good, my friend. Not good.
So Parks and Rec opened up a bunch of whole new worlds for you, for instance, and I am curious about this as somebody who has thrown a pitch at a professional baseball game, albeit the Round Rock Express. You as a Chicago guy got to throw out a first pitch at a Cubs game at Wrigley.
Twice.
Cow, how freaking cool. How did it go the first time, and was it better or even better the second time?
It is terrifying. It is, you go in, like in my yard. I'm in my yard right now as we're recording this, and I have a kind of a long backyard. So I do I mark off what I need to do, 60 feet, whatever the exact footage is from the mound to the to the plate, nailing it every time, every time, every time. I'm good. I'm good to go. This is going to be amazing. Then I get to Wrigley, and they're playing the Cardinals, which is they're, what is the term? They hate each other. They're
Rivals.
rival teams, and it's packed. And this is the the refurbished Wrigley. So we got the jumbotron and we got the whole thing. And there is something about it, Trey. All of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the mound. From Parks and Recreation, Jim. Oh, and Chicago boy, Jim O'Hare. And you start walking out there, and there's 40,000 people, and my big ass is on the jumbotron, and I don't know what happens, but things go bad, and your brain is spinning, and I'm thinking, oh God, don't do bad enough to get on television, because you never want to make the news with the first pitch, because if you made the news, it's because you screwed up, like
on
big
50
time.
Cent.
Yeah, or Baba Booey from Stern, or I mean, there's many, many, many bad ones. So, because if you nail it, if you put a liner right down there, that doesn't make the news. That's just, oh, good for you. But if you screw it up, so that's all that's going through my head. So I get on that mound, and and I did someone said do a fake to first base, and I do that. So I do like a little bit. Oh, when I look back, I'm so embarrassed. And so then the time comes, and I throw the pitch. And the other thing I had in my head is Nick Offerman had done it the month before me, and he did not have a great first pitch. He's talked about this. They've shown his clip on talk shows that he's done. He hit the grass. He didn't even make the dirt. So I kept thinking, at least make the effing dirt. At least I just wanted to do better. And the miracle happened. I throw the pitch. It's not lovely at all, but it hits the dirt, it bounces, and goes right into the glove. The catcher didn't have to like veer left or right. It kind of went right down. And then I got texts later from people saying from their camera angle that they saw it looked like it went right into his glove from the pitch. And I was like, oh, think what you want to think. But then later they saw the real thing and they're like, yeah, no, it didn't, did it? I go, no, it didn't, of course. Trey, it's so nerve-wracking. Like, were you nervous when you did it?
Oh yeah, and I was at a minor league baseball game, so there were probably several thousand people there, and it was still like I was shaking when I got
Yes. And how did you do?
I threw a dead red strike. It would probably be considered an ephus pitch. It was coming in at like 45 miles an hour, but I got it across home plate.
You got it across.
Catcher's mid.
There you go. I did one last year. I forget who it was for, because I've done these many times now. And there was some young phenom, like 12 years old, who went before me, because they have a couple people do it depending on what's going on. Sometimes there'll be a fireman or whatever. This little bastard nailed it. I'm like, son of a. So, and I look like a fool after him. But here's what's interesting. Every time I've done it, I've done the same pitch. It hits the dirt and bounces into the glove. So if nothing else, I'm consistent. And if they would let me walk 5 feet further, I really would nail it. But apparently that is not how you do it.
Well, you also don't want to be the person who's throwing off of the rubber that's in front of the pitcher's mound either. There's something shameful about that, right?
There's very shameful. And there have been times they make that offer, and I'm like, no, I don't want that. No, let me do. It's going to be embarrassing. Let me do it. I don't need to be embarrassed in that direction. Let me be embarrassed that I at least made the attempt.
Well, the first pitch process is also such a hilarious one now, because it's not just one first pitch. They've got like 10 first pitches. The last Cubs game that I went to at Wrigley, we were sitting in the outfield. I'm not even kidding you. There were 8 people who threw first pitches, and the 8th was a guy dressed up like Captain Morgan, because Captain Morgan is the sponsor of the Chicago Cubs.
of course. Yeah.
Which I felt bad for that guy. It's like, you're dressed up in a mascot costume having to try and throw out the first pitch. And he actually threw it right, too.
So he did well?
Yeah, he must have been practicing underneath for a couple of hours or something.
Yeah, but Trey, I tell you, I practiced my ass off. There's something about when you get out there, and also, you were on there. The mound, it feels different. It's not it's not ground. It's not the ground we're used to. So there's a lot of things that go into it, and I am just grateful I did better than Nick, and I didn't make the television that night. I was very grateful. But I've told Wrigley, the Cubs, since then, I will come in, I will do the 7th inning stretch, but my days of the first pitch are over. I've done it twice there. I will do the 7th inning stretch. I will sing. I will cheer the Cubs on. I love the Cubs, but I'm not No more. No more.
Wait, did you do the seventh inning stretch either time that you threw the first pitch?
No, I just did the first pitch. I've never. I said
Ah,
I will do this. I'll come in and do that, but no more pitch. No
you're
more
going to
pitch.
throw on the Harry Carey glasses if you do that, correct?
Yes, I will. Yeah, take me out to the. Absolutely.
All right, last question now, Jim, and I do really appreciate the conversation today. All these years later, what do you love about Parks and Rec?
I love that the miracle of when a show continues, because I've been on a lot of them. They come and go. Most shows come and go. Parks is still out there, and it's not just kind of out there. It's still really out there. We are on television stations. We stream. I was at an event the other night, and this happens to me a lot, but a man came up to me, and he got all emotional. He said, your show got me through a very tough time in my life. Him and his wife, there was something with their child going on. And thankfully, he said, all is good now. He said, but it was the light part of my day where I could sit and have some comfort. And I love that this is a show that brings people comfort, and it's a very uplifting show. There's Leslie Knope's character. Yeah, she goofs up and mistakes are made, but ultimately she's just trying to help people. And that is what this show is. It's trying to help people. And I think that's an amazing legacy of a show. And I am a big TV guy. I watch everything. Of course, I've mentioned The Office already, but Seinfeld and oh my God, all the great shows over the years I'm a big fan of. But a lot of those characters are very, very flawed. It's the nature of sitcom characters. Like those Seinfeld characters, I love them, but damn it, they are flawed people. And so there's certainly flaws in the Parks characters, but more than flaws, there's a lot of love for each other and a lot of love for their city and their world. And I think it's important, and I'd love that.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's up there with some of those shows that you mentioned in terms of the all-time greats. He is Jim O'Heir, an actor and soon-to-be best-selling author of Welcome to Pawnee, Stories of Friendship, Waffles, and Parks and Recreation. We barely scratched the surface.
I know, and I feel like we could chat for another couple of hours. My God.
I'd have no problem doing so. I mean, you talk about your experiences with Leslie Nielsen,
yes,
meeting Quincy Jones,
yes,
and meeting Mary Tyler Moore, one of your heroes as a kid, and a lot of crazy stories from the set of Parks and Recs as well. I truly, my favorite books are those that inform and entertain, and this book does that to a T, Jim.
Oh, thank you.
Laugh, they might cry as well, and I thought you really hit it out of the park. So thank you so much of that, and thank you for the time today.
Thanks, Trey. Take care.
You're still watching or listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or elsewhere. I would greatly appreciate you subscribing to this show, and please do like today's episode. Thanks to Gentleman Jesus for the intro and outro music. Hear more of his work at gentlemanjesus.com. Thanks to you for hanging out. For more of the show and to connect on social media, visit booksonpod.com. Talk to you next time on Books on Pod.